And we're live. And today we've got Jeff here, so we can take advantage of that, and we can talk about how Hanna relates to various members of the SJ. So Jeff, would you like to tell us a little bit about SJs? Oh no, I'm asking you to load the disk. Sorry.
Tell us a little bit about it. You want me to read from a book, or what do you want me to do?
Well, the things that define... Okay, I'll say. Generally, Kersey defines SJs as concrete in speech and cooperative in their use of tools. So, what exactly does that mean, cooperative? How are SJs cooperative? I know it's a bit of a simple. Oh, okay. I'll have a bash. Right. Cooperative. They generally like to follow the rules. Think that this is the way it's done. This is the way things. This is the best practice.
This froze a little bit.
I froze.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had Messenger open, and I shouldn't have. Right. So we're all cool now. So can you hear me, Jeff?
What?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right. Would you like to talk about SJs and how they're cooperative? What exactly that means?
Well, I don't have anything handy, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. Oh, right.
I know
Okay.
you were gonna do that.
Okay. Okay. What are the things that if you say what are the things that guardians value?
Who are you asking? Are you asking Jeff?
Asking Jeff, yeah.
Well,
Right, okay.
Yeah. Do they value tradition? No.
Yeah, I tell you what. I'll. Jeff's got to start the motor. Once he's on a roll, then he's king. I'll
I mean,
yeah,
what you mean, like the part about the values of guardians? Because I found my book.
Yeah. Ah, excellent.
Well, he's got being concerned, trusting authority, yearning for belonging, seeking security, prizing gratitude, and aspiring to be an executive.
Right, so what we could do is we could ask. I don't know if you want to give too much information there, Hannah. How does your husband fit those qualities?
Well, not that well. I mean, I would say that I almost fit better because I'm Enneagram 6, you know, and Enneagram 6 has some of these qualities, I think. So, but if I'm thinking about SJs that I know, I can. And when you said about cooperation, I think it's about, you know, trying to work for the community in a way, you know, trying to keep the community or society stable in a way. So there's value in being cooperative because society means that there are several people, of course. So there needs to be structure and some kind of not etiquette, but you know, a shared mentality. You know, so that people will cooperate and then build something good in that. But I don't know how my husband. I know that he values his family relations a lot. You know, he wants to get along with his. It's important for him to get along with his family, and he likes to see them and, you know, have a good relations with those. He also can enjoy taking part in some community things. I mean, for instance, he doesn't mind taking part in some, if our kids have something at school, you know, some kind of how do you call those, like some well, for instance, because he's a teacher, a drum teacher. So he has went to the school for a special day to give some less music lessons to the kids when they ask if some parents want to join and help out in that special day and stuff like that. So he doesn't mind it. He has no need to fight against. You know, if something works well, if something in the society, if it works well, he doesn't need to go against it. No, it's not a problem for him to just go along with good things. So he's not. How do you say? I have more problems sometimes with authority, you know, because as a 6 I have this on and off. You know, it's like I can seek safety and security, but I can also question the status quo. So I'm more of a reactive. He's more go along.
Now, Jeff is a bit of a music fan. So, do you think your husband, in his, did you say he teaches music?
Yeah.
Do you think there's any SJ-ness come through in the way he approaches music?
No, he's not traditional. He has certain preferences, but it's never based on something that he should like something, you know, or he should do something in a traditional way. I would say that he's more, it's like his extroverted thinking side, that he wants to be efficient. He wants things to have a certain structure in order, you know, for them to be efficient, and he wants to see progress. I have to say though that I'm not 100% sure that my husband is SJ. There is a small chance that he could be NT or even SP, but you know, but he always tests as ISTJ, so that's why we take him as a guardian. But yeah.
Jeff, is it true that the SJ musicians like a good old practice and will like practice more the same things rather than riffing?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but to that I can say that I know that, you know, when he was young, my husband he did practice a lot, like very in a routine way. He spends like 5 hours every single day playing drums. So he was very diligent and very observant and had a certain structure to his practice. So wow. In that way, yes.
I would say from my observation, it's likely that an SP practicing something, they could do it, you know, for a long period of time, but then they're going to reach a point where they're sick of that particular thing and then they don't want to do it anymore. Whereas an SJ might have the discipline to, they might not do it as long at a time, but then they would have more regular practice and could do the same thing repeatedly.
Yeah, I can totally see that SJs, they are the most patient.
Yes.
That's kind of
one way that might show up is like sometimes you see live performances by musicians where they perform it pretty much the same way all the time, and it's how it is on recording and stuff. And then you see others that they're always changing up the way they do it, different styles, different vocal tricks and things like that. So that might be something to do with it.
Yeah, I think improvisation and I think it might be a lot more typical for SP musicians to, for instance, to learn to play without knowing anything about notes, you know, like just by ear, whereas SJ might want to understand the music and, you know, may go by the book. So certainly there's a difference. But I don't know how an NT musician would differ from SJ, because I think NT musician would also be very interested in the theory and you know, like wanting to understand what music is about and learn by that. So I don't know.
Or it might just be something like some light relief from their normal thought processes. Like after a long day of thinking, they might want to do something to relax. Sort of like to balance out their life.
You mean which ones?
NTs, or let's say
yeah.
INTJ. If they're like using they're tired from all of that, they don't want to do any of that in the evening.
Oh, but yeah, if I no, sorry, this is a tangent. Oh, well,
I love tangents. Go
going
on.
back to the yeah. Well, I'm going back to my husband and how he chose his career. I think there you could see some SJ because he comes from a small town or small commune where music has been traditionally very important aspect in that, and there was a specific music school or a music high school in that town. So it was quite natural for him to go into music because it was around. He grew around music. It was in the culture and very important aspect of the culture. So it was nothing. Like many of his friends became musicians, and so it was. Yeah, he grew up in that kind of environment. So I think that's what we have talked before, that SJs sort of reflect the context environment where they grew up in some ways. So that's why they can be quite different in different parts of the world.
Oh yes. Yeah. I think the extreme example of that, well, within our culture would be like you can have SJs that are even members of criminal gangs.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's their community, their family.
Yeah, certainly.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, in that way, I think it makes sense. If I think about my husband, yeah.
SJs kind of are the ones that support the hierarchy in whatever group it is, from the administration of a federal government to a gang, whatever it is. They tend to be the ones that gravitate towards management of some kind, organizing things and keeping the structure of something in place, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, one of the translations of Kretschmer's book, Physique and Character, had jolly organisers. And when I saw that, the ESFJ just flashed into my mind.
Jolly, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've talked a lot about what the myths about what extroversion, introversion, stuff like that, and I've talked about how like the stereotype of the extrovert is probably like less than 10% of the people are really like that, as being like this social butterfly that's always going to parties and meeting new people and doing all of these things. But I think of all the types, the one that is closest or most likely to have people that sort of fit that stereotype is ESFJs. And again, not all ESFJs are like that, but they're more than any other type, the most likely to. Because the ones I know, it's not even necessarily that they're always going to parties or anything, but they just always know the extended networks of people. They naturally sort of do that social networking thing. If they know the families, they know their neighbors, that everybody just becomes sort of part of their family.
Yes. Yeah, if I want to know something about it, if there's something that I think has happened, and if I want to know about it, I know I will call my ESFJ family members or friends, because they usually know most.
Yep, either they know or they know someone who knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
yeah, I don't mind it. I quite like ESFJs. I think there's something comforting in that kind of, that someone cares. That there are some people
I think it's a real advantage in certain situations, like as a parent. I think about if you have any kind of group where you're trying to get kids together and organize for anything, having an ESFJ is a value asset. Because they're the best at making sure everybody gets where they're supposed to be at the right time.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel so lacking as a mother when I see these ESFJ moms naturally taking control of things and enjoying it. That's maybe the one thing.
Yeah, I think my son would have had a different childhood if he'd had, you know, an ESFJ parent, but he had an ESFP dad and an ENFP mom. So neither one of us were really good at doing that. Like we both have a certain charisma in terms of, you know, attracting other people, but not in the kind of networking way where we keep track of all these things and know everybody. It's sort of like whoever we happen to come across, we might have a good time in that situation, but we don't remember to get people's phone numbers and you know and organize things like that. It's like forget, you know, all that sort of stuff. So my son probably would have had more like a greater variety of friends and you know, whatever activities that he would have gone to with other kids and stuff if you'd had somebody, you know, at least one parent that was more of that type of social networking person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a pain for me to try, you know, get involved in those kind of, like, all the hobbies and like, I'm not a soccer mom, you know. It's not natural to me.
I remember one thing. Someone I know, I think, is ESFJ, and she was also a foster parent, and she was saying that with her daughter when she was younger, is that she was always she'd explain why something she did was wrong, and she'd always give like a different explanation because she wanted her to like a different concept for her to understand, with like lots of different methods to like have them understand that what they did was wrong. And this was someone who became interested in psychology, so this is like an intelligent ESFJ. So I sort of saw the things working together there based on a story she told me. Because that can be quite tough. I mean, as a foster parent, I mean, there's those social workers that work with kids and then they can say bye-bye at the end of the day, but when you're actually a foster parent, it's like, that's tough. That's a big thumbs up for people who can do that. Lots of respect.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Slaven, I think. So yeah, so what are the other things about... oh, that's interesting. It says here in the CUIE matrix that SJs have a preoccupation with morality. Now, this is obviously based on CUIE's experience of American SJs in the 1950s. Your husband, 21st century, different country. Is he a secret moralist, or?
No, he's not at all. He's not, you know, not at all. He only, you know, takes care of his own business. He won't. The exception is, though, that if, you know, we both have, that this is what we share actually with him, that we do think that if we like to, you know, take part in educating kids. I mean, also if the friends of our kids are at our place, and we see something like, if, you know, sometimes kids can be pretty cruel and they can talk in a very like racist, or, you know, in that kind of way. So if we hear something like that, we will, like, we won't be angry, but we will talk about it. You know, we will put some kind of, you know, little seed of sophistication in their minds. You know, we will react.
That can be a delicate situation with the parents.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, ooh, that could be tricky. I don't know if any tricky situations have happened in the past.
Yeah, there have some. Yes, there have been some issues that I have felt that, you know, this is a moment. You know, we have to talk about this, and it's not. But I'm pretty good at, you know, I would say that I'm pretty good at keeping it warm and friendly, you know, while also criticizing or saying that, you know, you can't say it this way, you know, you can't talk in that way. Or usually I start to explain that why it is not it is not good, or if they are calling some, you know, well, in their school there are at least 2 special need classes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what you know, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
How they call those other kids, and then I will explain that, you know, but he's probably like that because he's learning, you know, this, that he has some I'm trying to explain it in a friendly way, but I will react to it. I will never,
Oh yeah.
let it go.
Oh.
Like that. And my husband will do the same.
Rachel told me something fantastic, and you've got Dario's book about where he said that SJ is, if they see a frown on someone's face, they feel bad, even if the frown has nothing to do with them. And Rachel's son is like 10 years old, and and she thinks he's an ESTJ, and he gets upset when the other children don't follow the rules.
Oh yeah.
And so he's like probably SJ, like he was an SJ. Now, if Rachel is upset, nothing to do with her son. If her son sees her upset, he becomes upset because it's like, again, it's that objectively reacting to her facial expressions, and he gets very upset, and she has to explain to him, no, it has nothing to do with you. And I just wondered if you'd noticed anything like that with like SJ children, or.
Well, I don't think I don't have SJ children, so I mean I don't think I have SJ children, but I have SJ brother. At least at least the other one of my brothers. I'm very sure he's SJ, and he was quite particular with things going in a certain way, I think. And he paid more attention to those kind of. I did. Yeah.
A Disney message board that I would follow some of that. They have trip reports for people that go to like Disney World and Disneyland, and they'll explain their trip and what happened and tell stories about that and stuff. And one of the ones I followed for quite a while was this one that was called something like A Wicked Stepmother's Journey Through Disney World or whatever, and it was the woman and her husband and her two stepchildren, one boy and one girl. And the girl, I think, was like 8 years old, and it's very clear from reading the report that she is a little SJ kid, because she talked about how she was always doing things like pointing out other people in Disney World that were breaking rules, and was very upset about this, and it would be like, oh, it spotted another rule breaker, and I'm thinking, there's no way in a million years I'm a kid at Disney World that I'm thinking about who is breaking rules. I'm thinking, what are the most fun rides and shows, and just have fun in whatever way possible. And the fact that there's like an 8-year-old kid paying attention to people breaking rules, and that was important to her, I thought that stood out to me as like an example of temperament difference at a pretty young age.
Yeah. I can. That's interesting because I'm a bit. I have always been a bit like that. I hate when people break rules. It's like really. I pay a lot of attention to that, but I think it can be partly because my father is SJ and my brother is SJ, and they are quite. They are the ones who will react if they see something happening in the community. Like my dad has even taken once. He saw a couple of years ago. He saw like two elementary school boys. They had, what how do you call those? What do you have on New Year's evening, like these that explode?
Fireworks.
Firework, yeah, some kind of firework. That and they are only allowed in the New Year's Eve. Now like only 6 hours in the New Year's, or 12 hours in the New Year's Eve. And it was a totally different time of the year, and those boys had it. And my dad, he didn't of course know them, but he went there. What do you have? And I'm going to take a picture of you with my mobile phone, and what are the names of your parents? He was really like involved, and he has always been like, he will react if he sees something that is. And sometimes I'm even scared that he will get hurt somehow if someone flips, And
the bit I love about that story is when you said, "What are the names of your parents?" Yeah. Like, is he an ESTJ? Like, he's gonna come down and tell them all.
I think he's ESFJ. I think he's ESFJ. Yeah. But he can be quite. He's probably Enneagram 8 or 3, so he can come off as quite.
One of the things Dario said about STJs is that they're very. I've noticed with my mother is very sensitive to the tone of voice you use with them. Have you noticed that?
Well, I know that my husband hates if I shout, so yeah. So he's very calm, you know, very steady. So he feels very uncomfortable if there is too much emotional expression. So yeah.
I have a ESTJ coworker, well, a couple of them, but one in particular that there was a recent time where he was in the office, but he was on the phone with someone at one of the restaurants that he's a manager, and I don't even know if it was an employee or I don't know who it was, but somebody like said something about his mother, and he just like totally lost his temper. He's like yelling at him, you know, that don't ever mention my mother. So his mother passed away not that long ago, and it was just like this thing where he just exploded about it, you know, and so there's certain things like that where, like, I understand if somebody actually like insulted somebody in your family, why you'd be upset, but it was just like you know, it was just a much more emotional reaction than I'm used to seeing for him, because he's very like all business most of the time, you know, and so to hear, you know, his reaction that way was kind of weird, a little bit scary almost.
Yeah, I can imagine that SJs particularly can be very sensitive about this, that they want to protect their family. And,
yeah.
You know, that they are very. I know that my family, it has always been a very explicit rule that you should never talk about, you know, home stuff anywhere, and, you know, things like that. So, you know, the privacy thing, and yeah, I think it's important for many SJs.
Jeff, you know a famous SJ coach. Was he a bit like with the players? Hey, what's said in the dressing room stays in the dressing room, or the locker room.
Who are you talking about now?
I think you mentioned like an SJ football coach, college football coach. Did you say Mike Leach or something? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't think Mike Leach is an SJ, but I'm not sure whether you're talking about, like I've said, there's plenty of SJ coaches, but I think one of the most successful in basketball was Greg Popovich, the Spurs coach. And back in the day, you know, Vince Lombardi was, you know, one of the most successful coaches of all time for the Green Bay Packers, you know, in football. And I think he's usually typed as SJ, so he was big on the, you know, discipline and rules and things like that. So
yeah,
there have been quite a few over the years. Woody Hayes with Ohio State, the, you know, really successful college coach. So yeah, there's plenty of SJ coaches. I think again goes back to that. SJs tend to gravitate towards leadership positions or management type positions. So coaching is something where they have an opportunity to manage people in that way.
I'll just have just a tiny digression, but I've got to say the form tackling of the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, fantastic. No missed tackles. Very much like that.
Well, I mean, I was going to have to leave soon anyway, but that talking good about the Broncos is a way to get rid of me really quick. Yeah.
Oh no! At least it weren't the Cowboys. Right. So yeah, we've got some things here. Yeah, that's it. About the idea. Can your husband get a bit like it's got here? They're pessimistic about the future. Does he get pessimistic about the future?
I think this is a bit weird because I don't think many of my SJ family members are pessimistic. I don't think they are pessimistic. I think that's I've never quite understood this one. I don't know why. I think they see it as but maybe does it mean like they are glorifying the past? I mean, is there this kind of?
For me, what I've noticed is that it's more like they prepare for bad things to happen, so it comes off as pessimistic a lot of the time because they'll say, "Oh, well, you know, we probably won't have enough people show up to this thing, so we need to make sure we do this to prepare for it. So there's a lot of, like, it's like, they would probably describe themselves as being realistic rather than pessimistic, but it comes off to a lot of people like that they're always, you know, preparing for the worst, so it comes off pessimistic.
I guess I'm an Enneagram 6 and they are like this, and I always see that like the worst case scenarios. So for me, that's mild, you know. It's like that's nothing. I don't even see it as pessimistic because I'm like hyper pessimistic myself.
Interesting. So your Enneagram type 6 gives you some SJ things.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think so.
Which could be interpreted as TE things, which then might explain like your ENTJ typing.
Well, you never know. Maybe I'm here.
We never know. You know you much better than we do. Trying to type here is so hard, but we think INFP, and you think INFP. You tend to get these weird typings of other types.
It's not weird, you know. There is some. I think there is logic in my. You know, every time I've taken the official MBTI, and Jeff, you know, knows official MBTI, of course. So you know, I've scored ENTJ 3 times when I've taken ENTJ 3 times. So there's some consistency. So I think that
sounds pretty consistent.
Yeah, and it's even been well. The first time I took it, it was a clear ENTJ. The second time it was I think also clear. The last time the T and F were, you know, a little bit obscure, but still I think it was more ENTJ, but you know it was only mild the thinking preference. But you know there's something.
Was the JP clear?
E and J were the clearest ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've never related to the, you know, all over the map results, because anytime I was actually taking a test seriously, I've only ever gotten ISFP or ESFP. So, you know, I can relate to things from other types, but I've never been. I mean, if I'm being honest about my preferences, then it doesn't really deviate much from that. But I've got to go because even though there's thunder outside, there's not any rain, so I'm assuming we're going to do tennis. So I got to get going. But thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Thanks for the anecdotes.
Yeah, but if I'll just mention about the MBTI I took the last time. And I mean, every time I've tried to be as honest as possible, you know, and I've even double-checked my answers with my husband. So I've asked him, "Do you think this makes sense after I have?" And he's sort of agreed. So all those times I've got an ENTJ. So
maybe what it could be is because you're an Enneagram type 6, you could be like an ENTJ that's got a lot of ISFP in her.
You know.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, but the one system that's my favorite system, this cognitive type. They have. I like their. It's the same as actually Nardi has in his book. Well, this is not about SJ anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. But that's okay. It's fine.
So, like I mentioned in our messages, there is in this 8 keys to leadership.
Yeah.
Page 20. Yeah, he mentions. If you have it there, yes.
Yeah, I'll just. Here we go now. There we go.
So if you open the page 20.
Right, page 20. I'll just. Oh yeah, you've got tandem use and possible misuse.
Yes, tandem use. So this cognitive type theory that I really like, that bases their typing in the facial expressions and you know, what comes out of our gesticulation, body language, and facial expressions. They use a lot of Nardi's work as well. But anyway, I was quite intrigued when I found out that they have the same idea than Nardi has here, that our judging functions and also our perceiving functions, but in my case, the judging functions work as a loop. You know, that extroverted thinking always is looped with introverted feeling. So they don't work separately. It's a circles around.
There's hints of that, I think, in psychological types.
Yes, yes, there should be. Yeah, I think so. Yes. I mean, I've read about that that kind of.
There's more on the tandem use towards the back of the book, where you've got like I was looking at it just now. We've got tandem use of extrovert. Like you've got in here, engaged process in tandem use have results paid to 162.
Okay, I have it as an ebook, so I mean,
yeah.
Maybe I'll check it later because I can't open it here.
So
yeah, but I think it's an interesting concept, and it actually explains my own typing issues better, because I've thought for a few years now that I feel that I'm either TE lead or FI lead. That it oscillates between those two, and that makes sense if I think about this tandem use. Especially because I'm not a 20-year-old anymore. I'm a more ripe age, so it would make sense that these tandem judging functions, they will show up in a bit more fluent way. So I think it's a very interesting idea. How do you feel about if you think about your extroverted feeling, introverted thinking? Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
I think that people can see that in Hangout, and I'm thinking about what to title this video. What we'll do is, if we quickly summarize, because we can cover this when we do the Model G thing, because we'll still have about an hour and 15 minutes to get through it.
Yeah.
So if we just, so if you just quickly go through, like, say, I think you said your father's ESTJ. Is that correct?
I think ESFJ.
All right. So could you talk about so we can get through all four guardians?
Yeah.
And the differences you see, and how, like, do you get on equally well with all of them, or some better than others?
I like it. I like SJs. I tend to get along.
So do I.
Yeah, I like, they are comfortable to be with because they are quite predictable. I mean, I'm not saying this in a pejorative way. I mean, it's in the most positive way. They are predictable. They are. It comforts me to know that they are usually steadier than many other types, and down to earth in a way that makes me feel safe. So yeah.
You see, I think that Enneagram trumps Jungian type, because what you got here is your Enneagram 6 has overridden your Quadra-based romance style.
Oh yeah.
Theoretically, the ENTJ is like a victim type, and wouldn't mind the ESTP likely lad. Whereas because you're Ennea type 6, you like more of the SJ-ish type gentleman sort.
I believe that. Yes.
So,
but if I think about, but I have only ESTJs. I don't think I have in my close family, but I have ISTJ, ISFJ, and ESFJ in the family.
Right. So.
And I like them all. Not always, but most of the time.
Well, we could let Jonathan in here for a few minutes, because there's a link with Enneagram.
Okay. So what is he going to tell us?
He could tell us, Jonathan, which overlappings do you see between Ennea type 6 and SJ? And because Hannah's mentioned that she has some SJ-ish qualities.
Well, Ennea type 6 usually... Well, SJ is often typed as Ennea type 6, and it's quite common, especially ISJs, I think, more than ESJs, but it's still quite common, and all of the descriptions are probably influenced by that fact. But you can see that in how things like valuing security and valuing knowing where people stand and things, especially probably more so self-preservation sixes are more likely to. SJs are more likely to be self-preservation sixes because although they have some issues with authority, they tend to be they are more likely to side with it or to prefer some type of authority versus the other two. A sexual 6 who's an SJ is probably reasonably rare.
Yeah, I don't. Yes.
But self-present, maybe social, would be more common, and you'll see. I'm not saying it's not impossible for an SJ to be a sexual 6. Sure, that exists, but
Yeah,
I think it's possible. I think it's
it's certainly possible.
because with the introverted sensor.
Yeah, but a sexual 6 is almost always counterphobic, almost always more aggressive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's sort of thing. Whereas, while all 6s have issues with authority, social and self-pressed 6s sort of are more looking for authority to trust. So they've got that. They need it more than a sexual 6 does, or they're more aware of their need. A sexual 6 might deny they need authority.
Right, a little bit of context for the audience. So, Hanna, how SJ-ish is the Finnish culture?
Oh, very. It's very ISTJ. And I think almost all Finnish people who I know who are into typology will agree on this one.
Well, that's good for you. You like SJs and you've got an SJ culture. So
Yeah, but there are some, I don't always get along with SJs, especially with my need to question things.
Right.
And I can sometimes be too expressive with my, too honest and too aggressive even with my views. So I have learned to tone down my expression quite a bit.
you see, I can believe you're an ENTJ, any type 6, because in myself, my Enneagram 4 significantly changes my NT-ness.
Yeah. I'm thinking, if I think about myself as a child, when I was at school, I've even taken these tests and asked my parents to take these tests, and they always get, if I ask them to, help me take tests, what I was like as a child. So I get an ETJ, so TE lead 5 even then. So there's something, at least I have this some kind of preference for TE. So.
Right, so I'm going to be a little bit of a disciplinarian here. Stop this one. We'll try and get the next one started because we've got a time limit, folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so it's bye from me.
Bye.
Hi and bye, I'm just here.
Okay.
I came, I went.